And when a yogi experiences what is actually Ananda, it is not blissed out like you're on drugs, right? It is the ability to let whatever perception, whatever feeling roll through you, which can be utter sorrow. It can be deep despair. It can be anger. It can be joy. It can be happiness. But it's the letting of the feeling roll through you without you identifying it as something bad. Do you understand what I'm saying? So this is a level of Ananda Samadhi, and it's not what you think it is. Because if you're hoping it's going to be this blissed out feeling all the time, you're never going to get there. Because you're hoping it's going to be something that it's actually not. So anyway, back to the point with the discomfort for physical things. Part of the practice could be just simply, and again, this takes time. It's not easy. You have to figure it out for yourself. How can I surrender into the pain? How can I surrender into the discomfort? Now, don't take this too far. I don't mean that you put yourself in painful situations. I don't mean that, like, if a bee is stinging you, you don't try to remove the bee. I mean, if something's going on and nothing's going to change it in that moment, to practice contentment, this moment is being presented to you to give you that opportunity. And this comes back to what I said yesterday. Prakriti, nature, everything that happens in existence happens for the sake of your illumination. In the Samkhya Karika, it states that everything that happens within nature exists solely for your individual illumination. That's why you have the specific experiences you have. I have the specific experiences I have. They're different because that is what you need as an individual expression of this infinite consciousness to wake up. The good, the bad, all those things, right? That's what you need as an individual. And devotion, bhakti, when it's possible for you, is whenever something happens, you say thank you. And again, as I mentioned yesterday, I don't mean the kind of gratitude where you've been withheld something and tortured and finally someone gives you a cup of water. I mean, it's an acknowledgement of, oh, this is actually for me. This is actually for my spiritual benefit. And it's not easy. And many of us go through very horrendous and difficult situations. And I can remember when this one teacher was talking about that. Well, if you don't feel it's a gift, you haven't made it to the end yet. You know, their nice little airy voice. And I thought, you know what? As I was going through very difficult time periods, I said, you can take that and you can stuff it somewhere. But it turned out as time went on that when I finally made it to the end of that experience, I absolutely thought that unbearable thing was a gift. And it happened so many times that now I have the conscious capacity that the moment something happens that is unthinkable, I know it's the beginning of a gift. And I let that experience roll through me, and I let that light of Sattva be there, because the light of Sattva, when I say light, many of us think of like the light of candles, like illumination, brightness of the sun. But on this subtle level that we're talking about yogically, Sattva is awareness, conscious attention and awareness. So for example, if you're engaged in tamasic things or rajasic things, for example, let's say how we talked about, you get really fired up about political things. Okay, that's fine. That's rajasic, that's tamasic. Sometimes we need to be inspired to make changes. But if we let that dominate our awareness, then we remain stuck in ignorance. But if we have the conscious awareness to say, okay, I see where anger is arising. I see where I'm starting to get more tribal. As long as you maintain the capacity to be aware of what's going on inside of you, Sattva is still present. The same thing with like pain in the body or other situations. The moment the pain overtakes you, and that's all you are aware of, and you go into the sense of despair and difficulty, then you're being sucked down into tamas, heaviness, delusion. But if you can try to feel the pain, to feel the discomfort, and stay aware that I am the eternal spirit that feels this. I'm not the body. You don't ignore the body, but I'm not the body, and you don't let it ruin your state of mind. Sattva is still present. So you see, Sattva continuously exists no matter what's going on in the physical world, right? It's only when you lose your attention that you become sucked down into Rajas and Tamas. And you cannot experience illumination of consciousness when you are sucked down into Rajas and Tamas. It's impossible. I don't care, again, I don't care who you are. I don't care how well known the spiritual teacher is. If they say that you can, go and have sex with everybody and get drunk all the time and these kinds of things and still remain in a state of clarity, they're not telling you the truth. They are an Asura, which is great. I mentioned I became a little more fundamentalist as time goes on, but there was a story that Roy told. There was a spiritual teacher, and he was telling this to kind of not, to indicate that this is not the way to be. But he said there was a spiritual teacher who said, there are two kinds of people in the world. There are those who love Krishna, infinite consciousness or God, and there are demons. That's what he said. And he said, yeah, we don't quite want to go that route. But there's actually something to that statement. So the word Asura, I use that word Asura. That's translated as demon in Sanskrit, a loose, rough translation. And so we have the Devas, which are like the angelic beings, and we have the Asuras, which are the demonic beings. And by demonic, all we mean, not horns and head spinning and, spitting out curses, although that could be part of it. Demonic means anything which glorifies the physical creation. Because the Asuras are, what they want is for you to be successful in this life. And that's fine. There's no problem with that. But the angelic, the Devic energy, what they want is for you to be supremely free of it all. All right. So we have to remember, within this flow of creation, there are people who absolutely, their role in this life is simply to be successful here, to figure out how to navigate the physical world, how to be, an adult in this physical world. They're meant to build businesses, have families, and that is really their role. It's because in their transmigration, they're flowing from pure consciousness down into involvement with matter. That's fine. We are all here because of that. Okay, but there comes a point in time where you can't go down into matter anymore. And you've come down into matter so much that you're like, okay, I've had enough. And then you redirect the flow. And so, yes, you take care of things. The Asuras have their role to manage worldly things, but then you have to utilize them to flow back up into spirit, right? So that statement, there are two kinds of people, the lovers of Krishna, God, and there are demons. Well, in a way, that's true. And when it comes to spiritual teachers, when a person is playing the role of a spiritual teacher, trying to encourage you to experience enlightenment, and they're getting you more involved with your senses, if they're trying to say, find fulfillment through sensation and desire, they're an Asura. What they're trying to get you to do is just stay engaged in worldly things. And you'll do that for a while until eventually you'll see through it, and then you'll start to become more engaged in angelic or sattvic qualities of lightness, and you'll really start to feel that truth is important. You'll really start to feel that harmlessness is important. You'll really start to recognize that every time you gratify the senses, you're missing your first true love. You're missing spirit. And that takes some time. And we don't all believe that that's true because we haven't seen it yet, right? That's really the big issue a lot of people have, that they haven't seen it yet.